Okay, so for starters, I wanted to just set some ground rules or ground common understanding about what we're talking about here. The title of the webinar was um, Respect for People, comma, AI, and then the future of lean manufacturing. So I'm going to get some input from these two guys on what respect for people actually means, because I think that's a source, in my mind anyway, that's a source of misunderstanding for a lot of people. Or maybe they understand it, but they're not practicing it. That's probably more likely. But we want to have that discussion. But also want to talk about AI and what we mean by that and where we see things going. So let me start with that. So you can't have avoided the fact that AI is showing up everywhere, right? So any kind of application you had online probably has now a new button up in the upper right-hand side saying, yeah, use AI. I mean, it's really all over the place. And if you've used ChatGPT or any of those, there are many choices actually these days for these large learning models. You'll understand kind of their capabilities at this point in time, and their weaknesses, right? Because they're not perfect. For example, you can ask ChatGPT. At least a few weeks ago, you could ask it to estimate how long it's going to take to have clothes drying on a line, and it's going to give you a totally wrong answer. But these things are getting better by the day, by the week. And so what we're talking about here with AI is not artificial superintelligence world, but I think we're talking about maybe in the fairly near future, this advent of something called general intelligence. So artificial general intelligence, AGI. And that's where we have a computer. It's not really a being. I heard someone describe it the other day as kind of a hive mind. AI being is like a hive mind because it's not a single location. It's like the internet with some intelligence
Sounds like
to it.
Asimov novel right there.
Yeah, pretty much. Or like Star Trek, right?
Exactly.
The Borg.
Picard is out there trying to get the Borg.
Yeah, but that's kind of what we're talking about. So I don't think we're quite there yet with the AI. We can expect to see in a year or maybe even less. I mean, so there's a wide range of estimates in terms of when this is going to happen. But at some point, we're going to have a hive mind that has read every book on lean manufacturing that's ever been written, plus everything else, and has some kind of intelligence, right? Mm-hmm. Some ability to analyze and plan and do math, because right now AI is not very good at math either.
So what triggered this conversation and the desire to share this with you all is because for many of you, AI may be becoming a concern. For many of you, AI right now is just a toy. You ask it a silly question, it gives you a silly answer. Yeah, that too. But we're beginning to see that AI is becoming more powerful. And Richard just said, we don't know by when. Well, it's going to be sooner than we all of us think. It's really progressing by leaps and bounds. Soon it's going to be able to train itself. So it's going to happen. It's going to happen quick. And when we read that article, and this is when things went from just talking about AI to talking about respect for people, when we read that article and we passed it around the team, what we realized, and we invite you to take a look at the article, what we realized is that in our industry, in our specialty, yes, there will be a chunk of me, a part of James that should be replaced by AI. And that is the ability to summon knowledge from some part of my brain and give it to you. Being able to get those responses, get them faster, get them more complete, maybe get different angles to that answer, to that question. Yeah, sure. That will happen. However, what took us from there to respect for people was, and again, this is what triggered the desire to have this conversation. On the same day we started sharing that article, I did get a call from a client saying, hey, we had a great week with, I don't want to use names, one of our team members. We had a great week, got a lot done. By the way, one of our engineers commented on the fact that, yeah, that's what a consultant is supposed to do. So I inquired, what do you mean? Well, it's not just the knowledge, it's what to do with the knowledge. And that's where we want to take this conversation. AI is coming. Well, it's already here. And it's going to get a lot more serious, a lot more powerful. But if you are concerned about, well, it's going to replace me, well, it may replace a part of you, the part that I'm holding this knowledge close to my chest. I'm not sharing this knowledge. On that one, if that's you, yeah, it's coming for you. But if you are the one that can take that knowledge, get people motivated, get people interested in making the change happen, no AI will ever do that. So that's where we want to take this conversation. It's not just about, well, this week we met this company that is using AI to do standard work documentation, which we did. So that's what's your head at with this, James?
Yeah, William, you got a great comment in there that says, if we load all of the lean content into AI, a fair amount is contradictory, and that's true, right? So, I posted a link in the chat that is the article that Richard referenced, and if you read through it, it speaks at one point about a software engineer. If you're a coder, that potentially a massive amount, they use the number 96% of your software engineer's current skills, things like proficiency in a programming language, could be replaced or whatever through AI. Great, but what they don't talk about is that human factor, that collaboration. So anyone that's gone through maybe like a software design cycle, there's the requirement phase. Hey, I'm the programmer, I'm speaking to you, Richard, and I'm trying to interpret, I'm trying to understand what you want out of this product that I'm now going to code. Okay, well, if you spit that into an AI, and I've had my own exercise of trying to get ChatGPT to help me write a macro. I'm very poor at that because it doesn't understand what I'm looking for, right? And so to me, a difference of maybe a software engineer, you're not spending as much time writing the actual programming coding, but what you might be doing more is having that human collaboration of saying, if I'm understanding you correctly, you want a requirement of X. You want a software that does Y. And any of us that have gone through that, I don't speak IT, you don't speak operations. And so we're not able to align, and we have 15 rev cycles to get to something that's actually usable for me, maybe on the shop floor. Well, maybe with AI, I don't have to worry as much about the actual programming. I can hit a button and it does that quickly. What I can invest more time in is looking you in the eye and talking to you, say, what are your pains in your daily activity? What are your issues so that we can actually go through and code those out?
Exactly. And so this is really, you can tell where we're going with this whole podcast, is that's kind of the direction we want to be discussing. So if we assume that at some point AI will be able to replace us on some of the technical aspects of lean, like to be brutally honest, line design, or even things like layout and documenting standard work and line balancing and designing material delivery systems. It's not hard to imagine that an intelligent AI, like an entity that's more intelligent than we are, could certainly do that, right? And probably do it in a few seconds. So that's where we're going to. But what is left for us is really what we want to talk about in this webinar.
But I want to lean again on James' comment, because this week we met a team member of a company that is implementing like non-toy, real AI software in the manufacturing world. And I think that they came up with a proper name for the tool, and they call it the co-pilot, right? Mm-hmm. Because they realize, and their software is powerful.
That's Microsoft's name, by the way.
Well, they call it the Kaizen co-pilot. Okay. But this is, and by the way, they are ex-Microsoft people. I know. And they realize that AI can get you only so far. Then there is the implementation aspect, the human aspect. But This week, for example, we're teaching class. And again, we're very lucky that we get to teach these classes. And during the classes, we're teaching a lot of the technical aspect, the tools, right? We teach people the calculations. And as Richard said, at some point in time, those calculations, will be automated. And if that is all you know how to contribute, well, I'm the guy who knows how to do the calculations, then I am invaluable. Well, that aspect of it at some point in time will be, I'm not going to say replaced maybe, but greatly automated. And what used to take you maybe days to put together is going to take minutes, right? So that side of things, that aspect, and so many times during the week, we made sure that we emphasize the fact that designing a line is not just about the numbers. And I think I used the expression a couple of times that the calculations will get you to the green, your common sense will help you, get the birdie.
Yep. Hey, I want to take a sidetrack for a second just to amplify what William asked, about, if you've read every lean book, then they're not all going to agree with each other. And one thing we've done internally to overcome that, we've set up our own private chatbot. So it's based on ChatGPT, but it allows us, it's called Custom GPT. It allows us to download or upload our own documents. And that was to avoid precisely what you're talking about. So when we're querying our own private chatbot, it's looking at our books, our white papers, our training materials, our PowerPoints, and so we're trying to overcome that potential situation where you're asking ChatGPT something and you're getting totally, maybe not erroneous, but a different answer than we would want to have. So I'll leave it at that. So I have some questions for you two guys, if we're ready for it, to explore. The first one is this concept or idea or phrase, respect for people. Mm-hmm. Because when I first heard that, and I wasn't quite sure what they were referring to. In the I'm going to go off on a tangent here again, but in the Tibetan Buddhist tradition, they have this saying, grandmother's compassion. Mm. And what they mean by that is, you may have a grandmother who's very sweet and loving and loves her grandchildren, but maybe some of the decisions she makes, like, chocolate for breakfast, is not the best thing. Yeah. And so when I heard respect for people, I thought, well, maybe people could misunderstand that and think, boy, respect means that's being nice to people,
cordial,
having a respectful environment, being polite, and it could actually be quite different, because another part of the Tibetan tradition is wrathful compassion, where compassion or respect can be fierce, right? Can be, overwhelming. So I want to see what you guys thought about or think about this idea of respect and kind of your take on what that actually means in a lean environment.
Yeah, I think to jump into that, Gerard and I had the benefit of being at Toyota Material Handling headquarters to lead our line design. And what I love about what they do that always helps ground me is, they provide things that's their literature, and it's really from the horse's mouth of some of their concepts. And they absolutely have core values of respect for people and things. And one of the things that comes up is this idea of empowering your workers. And I think empowering your workers can also be a respect. And so in there they talk about, have I empowered my people to stop the process if they see poor quality? And so do you actually have a culture to where you're not fearful to point out a mistake? You're not fearful to point out an abnormality? How many places do we go to that leadership is really conditioning their workforce to just shut up and work? And to me, that is absolutely not respect. The people should feel empowered, therefore respected, to say, boss man, boss person, I have a problem, and here it is. If we don't have that two-way road to where I'm willing to listen to you with a concern and not treat you as beneath me or whatever, or even in this potential AI, the AI engine, the hive mind, said that this is the best line design. and I'm the worker that you're imposing this to me, do I not have a say to be able to maybe point out something that your massively overpowered AI engine didn't think about, which is that this hurts my back? So if we don't have that respect for the individual, the respect for the person, and it goes both ways. And that's where I think Toyota does a fantastic job of listening to their people, because they practice what they respect you, and in meaning that I'm not fearful to bring up an idea. I'm not fearful, and they have tangible vehicles. Every single day there's this meeting. Once a week we have that meeting, where there's a purposeful entity, a vehicle that they can bring up an issue. And so they really do have a way to respect the individual without just that fancy picture on the wall that says respect for the individual. And
with a waterfall. Don't forget the waterfall.
And a rainbow through the, it's actually meaningful and tangible.
Yeah. I mean, we know Enron, right? The Enron the corporate vision statement, I think, had respect for people in there somewhere.
While taking their money, the retirement money. That's not that. Let's not laugh about that. That's sad. If you're stuck on the respect for people side of things, thinking that is just being polite and being nice, well, being polite and being nice, that's basic human contact, right? If that's where you are and you needed to learn that, you need to be sent to re-education manners camp. That is the basics. Did you notice, James, in their core values, that I believe the second one says, strive to create a family atmosphere. And that is a place where they really lean hard on that family atmosphere. And family atmosphere doesn't mean we're all hugging each other. It means that sometimes we confront someone and we remind that someone, you can do better, you should do better. Right? Is that kind of love for family that makes me say, hey, you should raise your game, or make sure you support your team. You're building defects because you're not paying attention to the standard work. That is also part of respecting the person, is believing that you can do better, believing that you can be more than just a slacker or 50% of what you can give. That is showing respect for someone. You can be that 100%. That is another facet of it. And the last facet, at least that I can think of, that I would like to bring about, is showing respect for someone, especially when you are a line designer. That's what we do, guys. So we're going to bring it back to that. When you're a line designer, is to make sure that you think of the person doing the work and ensure that that person has a full workstation of work. Don't give someone a lot of idle time. That is not respecting that person. You're saying, well, this is what you're worth. And also to make sure that when you balance that line so that work can be carried out throughout the day. If people go home at the end of the day dragging their feet, exactly, exhausted, feeling beaten.
Mentally or physically.
Exactly, both, right? And also set targets that are achievable. If not, every day you're dragging your feet through the parking lot saying, well, today is going to be another terrible day. I'm not going to be able to get, the targets for the day. And at the end of the day, you're dragging your feet back to your car saying, well, I knew it was going to be a terrible day. That is not showing respect for people.
It's one of the interesting things when we do our debriefs from our shop floor tours at Toyota. It's always an interesting conversation that we have as a group of, hey, how chaotic did it feel out there? And when you walk it, it's opposite of that. Everybody feels in control. Everybody does not move at an incredible pace. It's very in control. It's very smooth. And to your point, it's not overwhelming. That's absolute respect for the person. Would you, I think you use it in training, would you ask your grandmother to do this job? And if you're not, then why are you making this individual? Because this individual is a mother of someone, is a father of someone, is potentially a grandmother or grandfather of someone. And how are you respecting their physical body, that they're not going home to their families in a poor state. I think it's unfair to the employee.
That's a great point. One thing that struck me as a fresh perspective on respect for people when I was at Toyota some time ago was the people we're talking about don't have to be your employees. The people could be your customers.
Absolutely.
Right? So if you're building a product that's unsafe, for example, right, that's clearly.
Absolutely.
I think that's a great point. That one thing that stuck with me on this past visit was we did spend some time in what they call their adrenaline room, their Obeya room. And above where you have to leave, there's a slogan up there, and it says safety first, quality second, productivity third. And of course, that could be a vision statement just like any other company, but what are you actually tangibly doing? How are you treating safety? What's the first topic of everything that they do in their team meetings? Then they go on to quality. So they are practicing what they preach per se. And I just think that it's an interesting safety first. We have to treat our employees with care, right? We don't want to hurt our employees to make a buck. Quality second. We don't want to hurt our customers to make a buck. And at the end, we will make a good penny if we treat our people internally well and we treat our customers extremely well. Then we all win, right? Our employees win, our customers win, and we win as a business.
Yeah. Excellent point made by Aaron here. People can also build your community, and you heard our friends at Toyota say how they participate or help their employees participate in their community. But let me bring it back to the topic that started this whole thing, and that is AI, and how AI will help. Frankly, I think it will help. This job of improving the lives of our people, being the associates, the line leaders, the customers, the community. How will it help? Well, the way we see it, and frankly, I myself, I'm speaking for myself, I'm not particularly nervous about it. Will someday an AI bot be able to teach the classes we teach at Toyota? Maybe. I don't think so. Right? I don't think so. But will it help me? Will AI maybe help me teach it more effectively? Because there are some parts of the content that can be delivered more efficiently? Yeah. One of the comments we got from the class this week was, well, it would have been nice if we had spent more time on this, stretch the class one more day, someone said. And we're already asking 3 days plus travel time out of you folks. That's not nothing. But yeah, there is a good chance that some of that will be able to happen. And then when it comes to respecting the folks on the floor, could it be that ergonomic assessments at some point in time can be automated, made better, made faster? Yeah. Who's going to implement the ergonomic assessment? Well, it's not going to be 3PO walking around telling people what to do better and what not to do. It's going to be...
Well, it might be.
Hey, who knows? It's going, or maybe we'll just put out costumes. And it will be a well-trained leader that can convince, motivate, bring people along to implement those changes. And some of those changes may be welcomed by the folks. Some of those changes may not be welcomed by the folks. And I can imagine a day where the folks on the floor have access to these AI tools and they can get the answers faster. Nothing wrong with that. Getting answers faster will only make us more effective if we know what we're doing. And that is why I am not concerned about the future of our team members, because we make sure that we hire folks that are not only talented, intelligent, they know the material, they're well educated, but they can also help the folks that have to do the work. They know when to compromise. They know when to push. They know when to take a step back. That's where the future value of leadership is. It's not just being able to say, well, I'm the guy who knows how to calculate tact, right? Well, that's going to be automated, should be automated, and no big deal if you can get that calculation handed to you by a computer in short order.
Well, you made a good point about the co-pilot, right? And this isn't new, that if we go way back to Toyota's automatic loom, there was this thought that, wow, what are we going to do with this new technology? This is going to replace so many people. And out of that comes through the Toyota culture, that idea of Jidoka, that automation with a human touch. And I personally am with you and agree that I don't feel an overly threatened aspect, because as you know, we continue to evolve as a community, with technology, we continue to integrate it into. We're much more efficient than we were in the Industrial Revolution. We're safer than we are in the Industrial Revolution, et cetera, et cetera. And all the while, it's, oh my goodness, this is going to take the place of it. This is going to take the place of me. And we've just adjusted. And so to me, I look at it very much like it's a co-pilot relationship of, okay, I want to lead, like we had that company come, that there's a Kaizen co-pilot. And the value add is that, what about the data analysis, the data prep to serve up into the event, some of those necessary things, so that in the event, in the human collaboration portion, we're as prepped as we can be to hopefully get to the best new state, the best new solution to try. And that's where I think that a lot of this technology can come from. It's not going to replace every human. It's absolutely going to help enhance us, maybe to be more safe, maybe to improve our quality, maybe to get some productivity gains. But it can't fundamentally get rid of a human-to-human interaction or a group of us coming together and collaborating.
I do have one warning for those of us out there who hold knowledge or IP close to our chest, close to the vest. We don't want to share. I am the guy who knows how to do the spreadsheet, or like sometimes I like to call in not the most respectful manner, a spreadsheet jockey. That's all you know how to do. I will say, yeah, you're probably not that safe. If that's all you know, if you cannot work with people to make things happen, well, then you really need to rethink your value. And I would say, not all hope is lost. Learn, change, improve, understand what respect for people means. If you are that guy who likes to speak all in lingo, so nobody understands what you're saying, so that makes you really important, you're the holding of the mystery, well, I think that's what AI is going to do for us. It's going to remove some of the mystery, and it's going to make the knowledge more accessible. Mm-hmm. Then becomes the question of, what do we do with that knowledge? That's where I see it.
Okay. And Patrick has a comment here. By the way, we're going to allow some time at the end of this to actually pay attention a little more closely to your comments. It's a little hard to do it as we go along. But Patrick, where's the large body of data that the AI will learn from? Well, my impression is that we would, as humans, we're communicating with AI with natural language. Mm-hmm. And so the way I would picture it is we would describe to AI what we want it to do, and without having to code it, right? Mm-hmm. Describe in natural language how to go about doing a line design, which is kind of what we're doing now to fellow humans. We're teaching them how to do this. We would teach AI how to do it, and then it would be able to do it, frankly, if it's smarter than we are already. I mean, we're looking down the road a little bit.
Well, if you rattle off the steps to design a line, identify the products, identify the volumes, identify the process, identify or create the process flow diagrams, create the process flow matrix, some of those steps require your input. Some of those steps, creating the process flow matrix, you feed the PFDs, the process flow diagrams, to an AI engine. Don't ask me what it looks like, right? Maybe it looks like a scanner, maybe it looks like a paper shredder, I don't know. You just feed it to it, and that should be able to, the AI should be able to create it within seconds. I was joking this week about one of the calculations we teach in class to figure out family definition, right? You have a list of products, and you want to define which ones go together based on process commonality. And I tell the story that before I learned this, we learned this simple calculation. We had some long nights with a highlighter going through the matrix, going this one and then this one, and the long nights. Well, then this calculation made it happen in 2 minutes. That, getting rid of that tedious, exactly, getting rid of some of that tedious stuff, and also this week we learned that there are some new pieces of software that with an overhead camera on top of a workstation, it can identify the steps, build the standard work documentation, do an ergonomic assessment. I think, oh, that's awesome.
Identify waste.
Yeah, I think.
Do the timing.
Yes.
Yeah, can I have a GoPro out there and observe, and it give me a good estimation of waste time from a walk, like human motion?
Well,
exactly.
that already
Yeah, exactly.
That already exists. Right?
Yeah.
Is that a threat to humankind? I don't think so.
No.
I think it enhanced so that you didn't have to do the late night, print it out, do all that. So it helped enhance you make better decisions. I think through that, I keep using that Copilot, that it's helping serve the data up to me faster and in a way that's more palatable for our brains or for whatever, so that we get to, I don't know how AI is ever going to, get rid of that human element of think outside the box. And so we have these models to say, okay, given these inputs, given this square footage of a plant, given this type of industry, here's a known best place to start for a line design. But that's never altruistic. And I don't know how AI is ever going to think out of the box for me to get to this new type of technological leap of hey, we never thought of that before. And that only happened because we sat around a table or a dry erase board and we started collaborating together. I just can't see how AI is ever going to be a threat to that. But it absolutely can serve me up data and inputs that I need. How often is it that the leader says, I need time studies from you. I need you to go get me your product mix. I need you to go get me the sales volume. Wouldn't it be nice if I could just snap my fingers and I had that? That's a benefit.
How much more effective a line designer can I be if I didn't have to spend 8-10 hours on the floor with a clipboard and a stopwatch doing time studies? At the end of the day, my feet hurt, people. I don't want to design it.
I
don't want to design a line after that. You're going to get a much better line design if I was able to get the data without standing for hours on end doing time studies. So yeah, replacing some of that, I think that is good. Mm-hmm. I used to mine for coal with a pick and a shovel. Well, now we have machines for that. That is a good thing. Right. That is a good thing.
Okay, now back to this issue of things that lean consultants or lean specialists will be doing in the future, even with AI. We've touched on some of those, quite a few already. I wonder, James, if you could expand on what we were just talking about last night, where people get together in a factory in the morning and there are various levels of groups of people, that concept, because I thought that was great.
Yeah, if we take an extreme of, like, let's say AI replaces everything. So in your facility where you're working, maybe you have tier meetings, right? You have a tier 1, tier 2, you have a shift transition, you maybe have an in-shift huddle, maybe you have a quality circle. You're like, I'm going to AI that out. I fundamentally don't know how some sort of AI entity is going to eliminate the need of a shift transition. How it's going to eliminate a quality circle.
Talking to a computer and the computer, you're not going to do that.
Yeah, exactly. So there's always going to be a need. But what would be very, very helpful is time is always the limiting factor with all of this. I'd love to have an 8-hour shift transition meeting, but that's my entire shift. I can't do that. So how do I get the information quicker? How do I get the right information? How do I put that in the hands of my team leads and my group leads faster so that really we can have a safe working day, we can have an effective quality working day, and we can hit our productivity targets. And so whatever that mechanism is that you have, every morning, the first 30 minutes we do X. And for example, at Toyota, they have a nice, wonderful cascading upward that at 6:30, they have their shop floor with their team leads and their 6 associates, and they're talking about things like their production schedule. All right, is AI going to talk my production schedule for me? No, the associates need that information, but it can serve it up to me very quickly. If there's a schedule change, it can do that very quickly and show me. It can highlight maybe some abnormalities that we need to be aware of. We need to talk through those. So that might be an element that AI can help enhance our daily 6:30 on the shop floor tier meeting. Then that's going to flow up maybe to our 7 a.m. in our obeyer room. Is AI going to take care of that? No, supervisors, you stay where you're at. AI is going to make all the decisions for you for the plant today. I don't think it's going to go very well. We have to come together because we're managing that manufacturing chaos. We're managing who called in sick today, what customer had a quality issue, et cetera, et cetera. And so there's all these randomness that happen every single day that we have to come together, hopefully get that information as fast as possible so that we can collaborate and make decisions. That's where I see that we're going to be better and more adept at that. But the idea that coming together to review things on a whiteboard or however your tier meetings are now, it's only going to enhance it. It's going to be that co-pilot. It's going to help you make more informed to get to the best decision possible is the way I see it.
And Corey makes an interesting comment. Absolutely, Corey. Does it make mistakes? Does it ever? Right? If you were relying only on AI or a chatbot for a, I don't know.
Should I make the schedule change today?
Exactly right.
If the customer's always right, then I should always make that schedule
It
change,
may
right?
respond that, I don't know, based on your tone of voice, you should leave your spouse. I know you love me.
We know what happened with Skynet, right?
So I know I'm exaggerating, but absolutely, they do make mistakes, and right now, but it's going to get better. I fully expect that it will get better. It will get refined, and again, what our bias, informational bias here is just getting calculations faster to you. Now, would I review those calculations? You bet I would. But I can see a day when those calculations come back really fast and they're very reliable. One thing that we're pondering is for our lean design simulator. Right now, as simulation goes, it's pretty manual. We enter data into an input file, upload, push the button, get the answer in seconds. Right? It did all the work in seconds. But then we have to go into the results sheet, the results element of it, and review the results and say, oh, look at that. There's a blockage here. There's idle time here. And we go back and make a change. We think, hey, what would solve this? An in-process Kanban. Add an in-process Kanban between station 3 and station 4. And save the data file, save the input file, upload the input file, push the button, get the answers, look at the results. Can that be automated? Oh, yeah. that should be automated. And AI is probably going to get much better than us at looking at the results sheet saying, hey, look at that, a blockage, boom, make the change, and pull from 5 possible solutions that we fed those solutions. We train the AI on those solutions and say IPKs or add resources or resequence, go rerun. We can see that happening. So yes, it does make mistakes right now. And then again, but that is all the gimmicky stuff happening right now. We're talking about the more serious aspect of it, the specialized aspect of it. I don't think it'll be ChatGPT doing line designs in the future. Frankly, I don't know. I just don't think it'll be something accessible to everybody for someone to go, hey, let me design a line to, I don't know, build Legos or something like that.
Okay, so we've identified a lot of opportunities in the future that are positive, right, for people that are lean consultants or specialists. I want to recommend a book here too. I don't get a commission by recommending this. I don't know if you can see this.
Don't?
No, not yet. But anyway, it's a fairly recent book. It's by Katie Anderson, Learning to Lead, Leading to Learn. She mentored with a Toyota leader named Isao Yoshino, and it's talking about exactly what we're talking about here in this webinar. You know, how to bring lean leadership to the factory floor and to management, et cetera.
Type it in, let me see.
Yeah, so you can get that. Now, but I wanted to, I think we're...
Yeah, we are at the point at which we should transition over to questions.
Yeah, I wanted to bring up one more point, though, before we do that. And it's kind of the darker side of this whole issue. What if we're in an environment where our company is really not supportive of respect for people? Meaning that when we talk about some of these skills, people skills and emotional intelligence and these issues, building teams, those are issues that are harder to attach an ROI to.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And there are some organizations that are very data-driven, let's say, and if you can't justify your time in hard dollars.
Absolutely.
So I just wanted to throw that out and get some comments from you too.
That's an excellent point. And frankly, the answer to that is I don't know how we're going to fix that. Because we as a society have been valuing all the STEM side of knowledge. And believe me, I'm a big fan, all right? Engineer right here, so big fan. But I think we have undervalued some of those soft skills that help you communicate with people, motivate people. I don't know how we're going to fix that. We don't teach any of that to engineers in engineering school. I don't know. And I know, for example, the folks at Toyota, they just absorb it little by little in the way they live. But how many Toyotas are there out there?
I think it's an interesting thought exercise that, you know, someone once told me that was very much into the lean world as well, that culture eats strategy for lunch. And if you expand on that, you can have the most wonderful strategy, you can have the most amazing business model, and a lot of you can have the most amazing product out there in the marketplace. But if no one wants to work with you, no one likes you, all those sort of negative aspects of like, he's the smartest guy in the room, but I can't be in the room with him. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing that if you have the cure to cancer, but literally no one will listen to you because you're so difficult to be around, difficult to work with, do you really have any answers at all? And that article that we mentioned earlier on, it talks about how there was historically been a big push in the technical. If I'm go into engineering, if I go into science, if I go into the STEM stuff, then I can have a wonderfully great career at the expense of everybody going into more of the soft skills, the humanities, those types of things. And now I think AI can actually tip the scale more to say, as humans, we're driven to be social creatures. We're driven to want to be together and collaborate. That if I don't have to spend as much human capital on the technical side, because you know what, I've got this AI thing over here that can serve me up the data. Now I can spend a little bit less investment on that as a society, as a company, and I can also now invest in my people. That is an inherent part of, we want to be able to talk to each other. We want to be able to do those things. So I actually do think that AI can actually benefit us to take away some of that, you know, labor and resources and human capital on the technical and bring it back over to the sort of soft skills side. But there's no one answer to that, right? It's you know, if you're at a company that has, quote, a bad culture, they don't listen to their people, what's the fix? That's a difficult path.
William here is making a good point. Toyota has a 50-year head start, and again, nobody's gonna. And again, we're not selling you Toyota here. We are just very lucky that we get to work with them, and teach classes hosted by them. So every time we go, believe it or not, we've been at it for what, 15 years now? Mm-hmm. And every time we go, we learn something new.
Absolutely.
But the issue of time, William, is a very valid one. And could it be that us, consultants, are maybe not doing this a great favor by saying, well, this can be done in 3 months? What can be done in 3 months is a change to the line. And we can do that, definitely.
But will your people adopt it, right?
Will the people be ready?
Yeah.
We're working through that, right? We're working through that. What we do know, and again, we're engineers, right? So those are some of the questions that being able to get away from the drudgery of the calculations is going to help us get better at. Pay more attention to the folks, to the people, spend more time with them. So that's something to consider. And I don't know, William, if you were going in that direction, but yeah, time, maybe a part of it. And we do design our lines sometimes with some, let me put slack in it to allow for people to come up to speed. But maybe there is more, and maybe we can do better in that regard.
Yeah, and Aaron just reinforces the point we're making is that, if your company expects short-term ROI, you may encounter some bumps in the road when you now have more free time to work with people, but they don't want you doing that.
You're right.
They just want to get rid of you. I mean, that could happen.
Yeah. And maybe, we can help with that evolution, William, by training people. Training will get you along the way, but training needs to be absorbed and people need to live it. So, yes, you see that may be one thing that AI or the faster acquisition of information will do for us. Help us focus more on helping people. And as I told you, one of our clients called me and said, hey, we got all this great stuff done. By the way, the comments were, this is what a consultant is supposed to be, because he helped the team learn, get excited, get motivated, and adopt. Mm-hmm. And I suppose we've been very lucky in the way we bring our people on board and we train our people. Our folks are not spreadsheet jockeys that walk around showing, hey, look at my calculations. You don't know this. That's not us. So from that standpoint, yes, I will take some credit. We will take some credit for that. But also, I think we have something to learn in that regard.
But here's an interesting thought exercise of looking at it from two different angles. If we look at AI and say, hey, it's going to replace me, you could take that argument to an extreme and say, hey, this new thing that we have in our factory for AI, it's going to make your decisions for you, right? So it's going to force upon the operator. You don't need to think your opinion isn't valid anymore. It's going to make the best decision for you. You could certainly make that argument. Or you could say, you know what? This AI is actually going to be an incredible engine for listening, that now I can actually expand and listen to my employees that much more. I can create a system that gives them so much more angles than that 5 minutes I come up and say, hey, tell me what it's like to work here. Then I have a much broader way to understand how they're feeling, their pains, their frustrations, what they like about it, and then take that immense amount of data and help refine it to make my company better, to make their work cell better. So you can look at it as doom and gloom, or what kind of possibilities could exist if I could listen to my people that much more. Yeah, I think that's a wonderful
Earlier, Patrick made a comment about where the large body of data is going to come from. It's going to come from you, Patrick, and you will be the one training that AI. That I don't ask me what it looks like, because I don't know. Right? You will be the one training it. You will be the one checking. You will be the one implementing. But it will do the calculations faster, hopefully, right? Mm-hmm. The way it's supposed to work. Exactly. It will do the calculations faster. And if you are the one that can really get people motivated to do this, then that's your value. That will be your value.